Coming up, we're going to have a full discussion on the first day of all guests being allowed into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Plus, we're going to discuss recent Disney news and more. From the Bob Varley studio and points around Southern California, this is the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is episode 773 of the Diz Unplugged Disneyland Edition. The Diz Unplugged Disneyland Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And also by Disboards.com, a great place to continue the conversation after you're finished watching the show. We have plenty of boards on Disneyland, Walt Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, all Disney destinations, and so much more. So if you're ready to start planning and discussing, head over to Disboards.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Diz Unplugged Disneyland Edition. I am your brand new host, Craig Williams, and I am today joined alongside by my co-host, Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And then from Fresno, California, I'll give his home address later, Mr. Tom Bell. And,
hey, everyone.
And yes, he's here. I forgot to let you say hi. It's my first time doing this one. So, and then also from somewhere in Southern California where I have no idea where that actually is. I mean, I know where Southern California is. I don't know where she's
We've
located.
been there.
I haven't been to her house or anything, but I'm sure it's lovely. We have Morgan Lamone.
Hi.
Hey, everyone. Okay, well, this is getting off to a start, but that's pretty much what I expected, so why not? If you missed out on last week's episode, you might be wondering, hey, why is Craig hosting this? Why is Rhino not hosting this? Well, that's a whole other conversation. No, not demoted at all. So in the grand scheme of things, you might have seen me hosting the Universal Edition podcast. You might have seen me host random episodes of the Walt Disney World Edition podcast. Well, eventually that's going to be my show one day after Pete moves on in like a very Mufasa-like way.
I was going to say, after the less oil you've been pouring slowly into his soup over the years.
Yes, yeah, exactly. At that point, then I will take over that show. And so he figured, you know what? And I'm just going to be blunt about it. He said, we better give at least our Disney fans time to get to know me more as a host with my personality and style. And so that's why I have taken over the reins from him. And unfortunately for you, if you've seen how I run the Universal Edition podcast, you know that Rhino is an integral member of that. A very, very important member of that. And so I don't want to say that he's in this realm that he's just here. He legitimately is my co-host, taking me along the way with all this. And the same goes for Tom out there and Morgan and whoever else joins us along the way. So we're gonna go back to an old Dreams Unlimited Travel theme that we had a couple of years back. One team, one dream.
I was going to say we're like the Ewoks in Caravan of Courage. You're like the mean one with the axe. We all love him by the end.
Okay, see, there you go. Already derailing things right from the start. So, so it's going. The show's still going to have the same heart that it always does. We're gonna help you try to plan trips to Disneyland, whether it's from the locals' perspectives coming from Tom and Morgan, or the way that Rhino and I plan our vacations as we're traveling out from this coast. We're going to try to bring information to help make your trip planning the easiest, just the way Pete relaunched this as last year or however long ago that was now. It feels a lot longer than that, but I'm sure it was. And on top of that, too, we also plan on bringing back some of the faces from the classic Disneyland Edition podcast that used to be hosted by Tom Bell. So, you've already seen them pop up randomly from time to time, like Mary Jo and Nancy, but I'm hoping that I can actually bring Michael Bowling back into it as well, too, and also Tony Spatel, if they all have time at some point to maybe throw in little segments here and there. We're gonna kind of just make it a big happy family with everyone involved. So that's the plans, and I'm going to stick to it. And then the last thing, I need a catchphrase for the ending of the show. Tom, can I steal your old one? because that just kind of died. No one else is using it now. Tom, what was your old catchphrase that you ended every show with?
Now there's pressure. Disneyland is more magical when it's shared.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now that you said it.
I mean, I will give you credit for it every time. I'll be like, and as Tom Bell always says, Disneyland is more magical when it's shared.
I need a t-shirt.
You make it seem like Tom is like the Force ghost that is being projected, and he has since passed, but now he visits us through the Force. I'm trying to make it all Star Wars themed today, guys. Come on.
Well, that's a good point. We do need to get going on that Star Wars discussion. I will open it up just briefly before we get launched into that. Does anyone have any housekeeping for this week's episode? Now that I went on that big tear. No.
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for the birthday wishes this weekend. All the Dizzers that reached out and wished me a happy birthday.
He's old.
So, thank you.
Tom, I want to be the first to say it this show. Happy birthday, Tom.
Oh, great. You just stole my thunder. No, I'm not saying it.
And Tom, we're all thinking of your wife as well, too. I don't know if you posted it publicly, so I'm going to stop talking at this point.
Yeah, you just go ahead. I mean, any other personal details about Tom's life that you want to reveal? I know we're getting his address, medical history.
It was just like a little carpal tunnel surgery. She's fine.
But Tom is having to also play as nurse right now, and that is never an easy job.
I look forward to the photos of you in your outfit.
Ringing behind the scenes. That's probably her.
Fantastic. Okay, so any other housekeeping now? Okay, well, then we will move on with our show at that point. And as I mentioned in the cold open there, the first thing we are going to be talking about and probably spending most of this episode on is actually Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And I know you're saying...
Not familiar.
Yet you're not?
No.
Oh, well, we've got a lot to teach you today. I know you're probably saying, like, why are you doing another episode about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? It's been what, like, the last 6 episodes have been about. Well... I'm sorry. I apologize firsthand.
It's good Kevin Close impersonation you just did there.
Blondie. Really, the reason we are doing this because you might have been living under a rock this week and didn't realize that the reservation period is now completely over.
Yeah.
So those reservations that you had to book to make sure you had guaranteed access into Galaxy's Edge, whether it was via just like a one-time reservation that you did online, or if you booked a hotel to get your reservation, however you had to do it, that period has ended. It ended as of Monday, the 24th of June, which was just 2 days ago. And actually, the day we're recording this is the day after that reservation period, or the reservation period actually ended on the 23rd. 24th was the first official day. I don't know why I couldn't have just said it that easily. I had to make a whole big workaround on that. But anyways, we had Morgan actually go out, or she volunteered, I guess is the better way to say it. She volunteered to go out on the first day to kind of see what it was like now that all guests were being allowed into Galaxy's Edge. And it was really kind of a free-for-all in terms of how it was actually going to go, because no one was really quite sure. The only thing we really knew is that all guests were now able to go in without that reservation, but once the land did fill up for capacity, then they would have to join boarding groups, I believe is the terminology, or they would have to get a boarding pass, and then later on they would be told via the Disneyland app or wakeboards when they'd be allowed in. And that's kind of the only things we actually knew about how the process was going to be handled. And beyond that, it was anyone's guess. Was it going to be the busiest day in Disneyland's history? Was the park going to shut down for capacity? Was it going to just create a cluster? Was Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run going to have a 6-hour line? Was the cantina going to close down at 9 o'clock and never reopen? No one knew. We had guesses, but Morgan again was there firsthand to actually do it, and she started off her day right away with rope drop. And so I'm going to just kind of let her go on from there and pipe in when I feel like I need to. And any
awesome. If I get off track, just put me back on track. Well, first Disney was expecting it to be awful. They had Toy Story parking lot open up at midnight on Sunday night, and then Mickey and Friends was open at 4 a.m. On Monday morning. I got there around 7:15. It wasn't bad at all. there was just like a pretty good sized crowd in front of the Frontierland rope, because they hold you in the hub area, and they said that they were going to let us in early around 7:20, 7:25. Halfway down Main Street was a huge crowd of people heading towards Galaxy's Edge.
So sorry, what time did the park actually open up that day? Was it 7 a.m. or that guests could start getting in?
The park opened at 8. So
Okay.
Rope Drop, they'll let you in like early, and then you just kind of wait in the hub, and you've already like scanned your ticket in, so you don't have to do that process, and you just kind of wait and whatnot. Nothing's really open. You just kind of sit there. And then 7:30, they walked everybody over on just the Frontierland side of Rope Drop. So if you wanted to go to Tomorrowland or Fantasyland, like you stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
They walked us from the hub through Frontierland, around Rivers of America, past Critter Country, and into Galaxy's Edge at the Critter Country exit. And I was thinking that they were going to stop us, kind of like they did for the reservation, where they kind of held you till your reservation time right on the dot. No, they walked us straight in. We got there at like 7:40, walking with this huge, huge crowd. And the land was open. It was just a free-for-all. So it was really, really cool. Just like the fact that like it basically opened 30 minutes early before the rest of the park.
So what did you see all the guests kind of run to? I mean, I'm sure, did you stand there and watch for a little while, or did you run to something immediately?
I've been there a good amount of time, so I didn't need to do anything. I was definitely like an observer to see how bad it was for the future if I ever did want to go back. Everybody ran to Smuggler's Run. That line started at 15 minutes, and then you just saw it go 30, 45, and then it capped at 190. It never got higher than that I saw. Yeah,
I was kind of following along with it, and it looked like a lot of the day it was maybe right around like that 45-minute mark to an hour. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I wonder, how long was it right around that 190-minute mark? Was it just, do you think that was overposted really quickly and then they kind of backed down from it, or do you think it was actually that busy?
Oh, I think it was that busy because the line, it started at Millennium Falcon and wrapped around the entire Galaxy's Edge all the way, like, so past the First Order part, Droid Depot, and almost all the way halfway down to the Resistance Forest. It was that long. I did a time lapse and I put it on the Disney's Instagram to show you that.
No, that was absolutely insane how many people were heading towards there. So did you also see like the Cantina line? I mean, because now with it being on the app, were people able to like rush there and try to get in first, or was it you had to do a reservation right away from your phone?
You are allowed to make reservations starting at 7 a.m. So I never really saw a line for the Cantina or Savi's Workshop. They weren't even letting you into the Savi's Workshop area, that like little courtyard area, unless you had a reservation. So there wasn't any, I didn't see any lines for the Cantina and stuff like that. It was basically just Smuggler's Run and then just getting the reservation. I really like that they have that reservation system though, because you don't have to stress about getting to the Cantina, and you don't have to drink at 8 a.m. if you wanted to go.
I heard they sold out. They sold out reservations though for both of those really early in the day. Like I want to say before 9 o'clock.
Well, I sorry, I did see that, but then I also saw people
they like opened
later, and later on the day they reopened it up.
Good.
We had her on the. Was that the Walt Disney World Edition podcast? My good friend Carly Weissel, who you can follow on Twitter at that name, Carly Weissel. I'm not spelling it. I don't know how to. I don't know that. But she was, besides Morgan being there, like she's always going out there too. So lots of great resources in order to follow along with the madness on that. But yeah, I Morgan, I don't know if you can answer this question, but what about people who don't have a smartphone? How are they making reservations for the Cantina or the Savi's? If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't totally know. I know there were stations set up throughout the park, whether you didn't have the Disneyland app, but you had, like, say, a smartphone where you can just log onto the website. But if you didn't have the app, you can basically go to, like, a kiosk that looked just like a World of Color ticket kiosk, and like a Phantasmic kiosk, and you just put it in, then you'd receive a boarding time or a boarding group. Okay,
so you got in there first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel like it was insanely packed right from the start.
No, it didn't. I mean, other than the obnoxiously long line, it didn't feel bad whatsoever. So, like I said, we were basically there at 7:40, and by 8:30, the park or that area hit capacity and it was closed. And that's when it was like 180 minutes. And also going back to Sabi's workshop, our friend booked a reservation at 8:20 and he got it for 1 in the afternoon, which worked out with our schedule. But yeah, they were filling up pretty fast. What was I saying?
Well, if you don't remember, I will continue on here. So the land eventually did close off because they reached capacity, and you said it didn't feel that terrible. So at that point, how strict do you think they were being in terms of the if you leave, you can't come back rule that people were talking about? Were they actually being strict about that?
We kind of joked with the cast member as we were leaving because, you know, the people we already been there multiple times, so we didn't hang out there more than an hour and a half. And we were joking, like, is this the point of no return? And they're like, yeah. And so we crossed that, and we're just like, there was only one person on the Critter Country side, and there was a bunch of other people at the other two entrances. But I know what I was going to say. The crowd capacity wasn't any. It was about the same as during the reservation system. So it was a very comfortable amount of people. It didn't feel overwhelming whatsoever. So that was extremely nice because I thought, you know, it's open to the public. They're going to let more people in. It was probably the same as during the reservation period. So that was really nice.
Yeah. So with the boarding passes to get in, I'm just asking because I didn't read about it before, like a terrible person who's hosting a show about Disneyland. Are you only allowed to hold one boarding pass per day? Because I know that if the crowd levels aren't huge, then obviously the Galaxy's Edge will be free to just walk in and out of, like it was first thing in the morning. And I understand that it ended up being the same way later on at night, that it opened back up where people could come and go freely. But during the boarding pass procedure, is it actually set up that you can only do one, and then if it's a boarding passes for the rest of the day and you leave, you can't get back in at all?
Yeah, I made a boarding pass reservation like early on just to like see what it was like and like, you know, take screenshots and stuff of what it looks like. I didn't go to my reservation and I wasn't able to make a new one. So I do believe it's only one reservation per person. Luckily, I was the +1 on the friend that was making the lightsaber, and then we were able to go back because I pretended to be my friend's wife, and I was under her name because they don't check your passes. They just scan your boarding pass that they pop up on the app.
Gotcha. How was the rest of the park yesterday?
Oh my gosh, it was deader than it has been because I talked about last week how the parks have been so nice. It was even nicer. You didn't even need a max pass yesterday. Like Guardians was a 5-minute wait. Incredicoaster was 5. Pretty much everything was such a easy wait because everybody's just scared that it's going to be crazy, but everything's been handled super smoothly. And so like, this is the time to go to the parks for sure.
That is awesome.
I heard though they lifted the cast member blockout date for the summer now.
Well, I was going to end with that right before we get there. But before we hit that point, I just wanted to ask Morgan about a couple other things. Because you've been there watching the progression of Galaxy's Edge. So I know you mentioned it before we got started that you've seen a couple things kind of decline in quality, but there's also been a couple new additions, like some mugs and stuff. Can you kind of give us a rundown over what you've seen?
Yeah, so I don't know how important this is, but the sporks have been disappearing from Docking Bay 7. They're really cool metal sporks, and Craig, I think you said they started off with 4,000, and they're down to like 100. But
I think Craig was the only one that didn't say that.
What? Craig was the only one that didn't say that? Oh. But the food, so I pretty much get the same thing when I'm in Galaxy's Edge. And I'll get it. I've gotten it multiple times, and then just randomly at different times, it'll be really, really bad, or like it tastes like it's been sitting out for a really long time. So that's kind of, I've started to not eat in there because you never know what you're going to get. It's such a gamble. But yeah, there's the new blue milk mugs, and it's really cool because it lights up, and then you can also like wear it around your neck. It does come with it filled up with blue or green milk, depending on what you prefer. I prefer blue milk. Yeah, is that everything that we talked about?
I know Rhino wants one of those milk jugs.
I do want one of those milk jugs. The Bomba Wamba. I don't know what it's called.
See, he's sitting here saying he wants one, and as someone who's been his friend now for multiple years and has seen firsthand the buyer's remorse that he has for collectible souvenir buckets and cups and such, I know this is going to be one that he instantly, before we even leave California, he will start saying to himself, or if he waits till it's here in Walt Disney World, he will say, why did I just buy this?
Yeah.
And then he will just constantly stew on it for a while.
Pretty much, yeah. And then I'll regret it and be like, oh, should I sell this? And I'll be like, no, it's too much of an effort, and I don't like selling that stuff online and blah. But it's called the Bubo Wamba Family Farms Light Up Souvenir Sipper. And it looks like, I mean, the photos I've seen of it, so it's $24.99, but the photos I've seen, does it hold a lot more than the regular cup of milk?
Oh, yeah, it's really big. Like, I think the price matches the value a little bit.
So you can get multiple sippers on that jug.
Yes.
That was a terrible way to... I apologize. I wasn't trying to be crass, but that's what I'm serious. So it's like you could have a couple of family members sipping out of the family. I mean, it does say it's a Bubo Wamba Family Farms jug.
I get you.
So I'm like... It's a hard thing to say, Bubo Wamba.
It's like the family jug sippers. It's like the name of an old-fashioned band that you would see back in the 60s, bluegrass band.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
Also, can I talk about the merchandise?
Yeah.
No.
They, no.
Apparently not. Sorry.
So they've been slowly selling out of a lot of things, like,
Kyber crystals are out.
Really?
Yeah. They're all out, and I'm so upset because I'm trying to collect all of them. Those are completely out. The shoulder porgs are out. The Ewok little stuffed animal looking ones are out. There's just been a lot of merchandise that's out, and people are upset because you think they would have restocked for like the opening day for the public. Nope.
I didn't even see a shoulder porg.
You haven't?
No, I didn't. Like, you could wear the porg on your arm?
They didn't have it till after you guys left, but it was kind of like the Groot thing where you put the magnet underneath your shirt and then the porg sits there.
That sounds adorable.
What?
I would have got that. That sounds adorable. Now I'm upset.
It's pretty cute.
Sounds cute. Still upset.
Okay.
Going back to the boarding pass thing again, Morgan, I don't know if you can confirm that unlike Max Pass, you have to actually check into Disneyland Park, not either park. Because with Max Pass, you can check into either park and then make a reservation or make a fast pass for anywhere on the resort. But for Galaxy's Edge, you have to actually check into Disneyland Park specifically.
And then...
sorry, go ahead.
No. I did read what Tom was talking about. But then I've also heard, so if you don't have a boarding party to sign up with, that if you get lucky, they'll open it sometimes toward the end of the day. If you're somebody who's not coming until the afternoon and you're concerned about that.
Yeah, it was open at 5 o'clock yesterday?
Yeah, 5 o'clock it opened up.
So that's nice though, because
that's very early.
I was going to say, because you could have still gone back there, and if there were fireworks that night, you could have watched the fireworks back there or had a whole experience. You still could have got your 4 hours in.
Exactly. So I think we kind of went over all of those details with it. As Rhino started to mention, now I will let him finish his statement on that. Like the good ruler that I am, I will let him finish what he was saying. If he would start saying,
I won't look. I can't look away from the Bubo Wamba Family Farms jug, but because you can wear it and sip out of it.
You're going to regret every second of it.
I know. But I did also hear, because everything has gone so smoothly and so well, that they have now, originally they had blocked out cast members and a certain type of annual pass through like into September, I believe, and now I heard the cast member one got lifted. So these wait times, it might not be quite as dead as it was yesterday, but
well, yeah, no, that's so exactly what you said. It's no one expected Galaxy's Edge, I think, to be as calm and slow as it was yesterday. And I'm not saying that is like a bad thing. I'm saying that is whatever Disney did to make this go the way it did. I would say congratulations to them. I heard 0 horror stories come out of yesterday. Everyone apparently seemed to be very happy. Everyone said the process moved smoothly. Again, like Morgan said, it didn't feel overly crowded. About the only complaints I did see was once Cantina and Savi's filled up and there was no more reservations. That was a bummer, but you know what? That's just the reality of it. That's something people want to do, so it's going to happen. But beyond that, then the way it impacted the rest of the park and even DCA, everything was calm. So Disney had a decision they were able to make. In this case, it was, should we lift that blackout? And they decided to. And now the question is, it was busy the first day. Now will people start seeing the reports of how easy it was to get in there? Will they start flooding the parks from here on forward, or will cast members start flooding the parks? What do we see playing out here?
I don't know that they'll flood it. I mean, they might flood it right away, but Galaxy's Edge is something that it seems has been designed for the repeat visitor. Mm-hmm. So right now, with as many annual passes blocked out as they have there, their only kind of repeat visitors are going to be cast members. So I know they're like might as well, and I feel like cast members deserve the opportunity to visit there. They're the ones who are making the park function. Why should they lose out over other people? Yep. You know, that's their benefit for working there.
Yep. Tom, what do you expect? You're going on Saturday.
They had cast member previews. They had the reservation system, and I'm sure some cast members took advantage of that as well. Some cast members have probably been in 2 or 3 times, just like us. So I don't know that it'll make a huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Morgan, what do you think?
I kind of agree with both you guys. Cast members were able to go in and out of the parks for a while now, and I have a really close friend that's a cast member, and before the land was even open, they had the ability to ride Smuggler's Run multiple times. So I think it's not gonna be bad at all. I don't think it's going to play a huge impact on it.
Yeah, and we're assuming that every cast member that's been blocked out wants to go. Yeah. You know, that's another thing. I'm sure there's plenty of Disneyland employees that are just like, I don't care either way, or are still going to be, don't want to go yet or anything like that. So it's, you would make that assumption that every single cast member is going to go on this one day.
You're absolutely right on that. I guess final question. Mostly going back to Morgan on this one. Feel free for the other two of you to answer, but I feel like we have to leave it up to Morgan right now. But what do you think is the best plan of attack for it? If you're staying there, or even if you're a local that's planning on coming over, do you think rope dropping and doing that method is the best, or do you think that just take your chances on the boarding pass, or maybe even wait to see if it opens back up later? What do you think the best plan of attack is?
I would say if you would like to ride the ride, Smuggler's Run, go first thing in the morning, try to be towards the front, and then do that first, because it's just going to be a high wait the whole rest of the day. But if you don't really care to do the ride and want to do other things, I would say just join a boarding group, because it only took like an hour and a half for our number to roll around, and they go through them pretty quickly. Like our friend got a boarding pass and it said like, oh, it's 67, and we're like, oh, that sounds like a really high number, but it was like, oh, it's only like 5 numbers off of what they're currently boarding. So it's a really cool and easy system. I wouldn't stress about it. I think the only thing to be aggressive about is getting on the ride.
Gotcha.
I did hear that, we talked about the wait times for it. I would not recommend somebody getting the line for the ride if it is a 180-minute wait, because it will most certainly go lower. So you know, if you're doing what Morgan says and trying to be one of the first people in there, and you get there and the wait time is already posted really high, just step aside and come back to it at that point, I think.
Yeah, well, and it's like one of those things. I know the wait time can change after you got in line and you didn't realize it was going to be longer than what it was.
It's never happened to us. You and I.
And I think only every single time we went on the attraction, it ended up being longer than what the posted wait time was. It can happen. So maybe if you already see it and it's creeping up above 60, just assume that it could be more, but then be hopeful that it's less. But I think that's enough on Galaxy's Edge right now. We'll continually keep you updated on it and maybe get some more of Tom Bell's thoughts on it after he's out there next week. And
that discussion brought to you by Booba Wamba Family Farms.
Exactly. Get your jug sipper. The Sipper Jug Band. But
the Sipper Jug that doesn't quit.
There you go. So we're going to move on to our other Disney news besides Galaxy's Edge. And the first thing I want to talk about that is fun for all of you driving a car and parking at Disneyland, there is the new tram loading area that is now open at the parking structures. So again, I haven't been there in a little while, so this is new to me too in this sense. So I'm going to have to throw it over to Morgan right now again. I'm sorry to continually make you talk, but why don't you give us a rundown of it?
It's good. It opened up Sunday morning. It has 20 security checkpoint lanes with each person bag check and its own metal detector, which is really cool. And it goes super smoothly. They didn't have all the lanes open when I was there. They had about 12, but it still moved pretty quickly. It's just so beautiful in there. To call a parking garage beautiful is interesting, but the decor there is really nice. The lamps have little Mickeys on them, and there's 3 tram loading areas. And this is going to sound really weird, but my favorite part is that the tram loading areas have a lane for each row of the tram, compared to you're just a mob of people and they're all rushing for the same row, and then you may be first, but then you're going to get pushed to the back because people move out of your way. So I really like that aspect of it. Yeah, it's really nice, and the colors are there's a dot design on the back, and it has Pixar characters and Disney characters, so it's really cool.
Okay. Now there is a walking bridge that eventually is going to open with this garage, right? Mm-hmm. It's just not open yet.
And it's on the new parking lot or parking structure side. So I feel like if you were to go on that from Mickey and Friends, you'd have to go up the escalator and then go across that bridge.
Okay.
So it's very inconvenient then if you park.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're parking at the Pixar parking lot, then you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, good to know.
So the new tram loading area is actually, and security area is actually in the lowest floor of the new Pixar Palace parking structure. And they had hoped to have it open this week, but it still hasn't opened as of this recording. The walkway that Rhino was talking about, I think they're looking at September.
Oh, okay.
To open that. So, I mean, it was, if you see, there was a video out on the, one of the cast member Facebook pages. They craned that in 2 pieces. They didn't build it. They built it offsite and then craned it in, but they still got to do more work to it. So I think they're saying September for the actual walkway. But the garage could be any day now.
For the walkway, just throw some glue on it, and I'll take my chances. So I prefer walking when possible, even though my body physique would say the opposite. That is what mentally I feel. So I like walkways. The last time when I think it was in December when I drove with a car and used the parking structure and that whole ordeal, and then Morgan and her husband Junior took Rhino and I to In-N-Out Burger one night, just dealing with the trams and all of that. It's nightmarish. I feel so bad that that Disneyland has to deal with that right now. I know there's ways, but you don't have to park in those structures. You can park in, what is it, Toy Story is the other?
Story.
Yeah, but I know that's not popular with many people. Outdoor lots with no shade whatsoever in a
welcome to Disney World.
That is a good point. But thank you for the update on the parking situation, Morgan, and the tram loading area. So speaking of I don't know where I was going with this this little segue there, but I was going to make a joke about Tom having emotional issues. So it's not working out. Tom, we got an update last week, I think, or just earlier this week on Emotional Whirlwind, Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. You want to fill us in on that?
Yeah, just a quick update. They had said opening this summer. Now we're hearing opening this month, and there's not much left of this month. So my guess is if it's not open as this podcast goes up, it'll be open probably Friday. Again, this is an updated version of Flix Flyers, Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. It's opened. They built it. If you go back to DCA history, it's where now I've forgotten the name of the old attraction. Anyway, the Maliboomer. It's where the Maliboomer used to be. So you board one of the 8 memory movers and you spin around. It's beautiful. The colors are beautiful. I think Morgan's seen it. They brought in Michael Giacchino to create new musical tracks to go with the attraction. So should be fun. Probably a longer wait than is for the value
warranted,
of the attraction,
yeah.
But
no, I got very excited about I love about Michael Giacchino and the music because I love the score
he's
to Inside
over the
Out.
park.
Yeah, no, he is one step at a time, as he should. He's an awesome composer. But I like that the different ride sequences are supposed to then be based on each character too. So that's it does. It gets me excited about something that I will be honest, when it was back in A Bug's Land, I never gave the time of day to. I didn't even like looking at it. But now I can actually sit there and say, you know what? Maybe I will go ride the Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. And I know I will at some point in time, because why not? Why wouldn't I do that? So, yeah, excited for it.
Tom, I think you're right about it opening up on Friday because I may or may not have heard a rumor that Joy and Sadness might be outside of the ride this Friday.
Yeah, we have more to talk about off air with that. I don't know if I'm able to discuss it now at this point, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
What are we
Cough,
doing
cough.
to them?
No. You know what? Why don't we just move on from that? Rhino. You love cups. Speaking of bamboo
Speaking of sadness. No. Oh, wait, Joy. Sorry.
Speaking of bamboo
Did you just
Basel
call it
sipper jugs.
The man boob family jug sipper?
Yeah, speaking of that, why don't you talk about...
Trademark, that's mine. No one else out there is allowed for it.
Why don't you talk about the other new cup?
Well, there are some fancy pants, and by fancy I mean not super fancy, but there are some new collectible cups out in the Disneyland atmosphere, specifically at the hotel. You can get some of these Dole Whip souvenir cups that come with the Dole Whip float. They add $10 to the price of whatever you're getting inside of it, from what I understand. There is a non-alcoholic float, and then you can get a splash of rum in the alcoholic one, which will go from a clear cup to a neon green cup, which is how they serve alcoholic beverages in California Adventure, if you're familiar at all. But they're just... They're nice. It's a nice addition. It's just a clear plastic cup that has some tiki designs on it.
It's the same design of the last round of the Trader Sam's mugs that were released. The one that's blue and white. It is the exact same design as that one. Just
with plastic.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell from any of the photos I've seen, but that makes sense actually. Yeah. That's kind of cool. So that's cool. So it's a plastic version of the fancier mug. Yeah,
and of course I have the fancy one, and that's what I would recommend going to first. But then I saw someone post about it on the mug trading group that I'm a part of, and they mentioned how it's, even though it's a bit of an investment, it's a great thing if you do have a pool or you like having tiki drinks outside. Instead of buying the 99-cent ones you get at the dollar store, make the investment in these ones, and then you give them to your friends and family when you're hanging out, and you don't have to feel bad if they drop and do anything to them because they're plastic. They're not going to shatter after the first one.
And Lord knows Kylie feels terrible about some that have broken in your house over the years. Still hear it being brought up today.
I love my wife more than anything in the world. The closest we have ever come to having a full-blown argument has been over mugs being broken.
So if you're looking to pick up these mugs, you can get them at the Trader Sam's, Tangaroa Terrace, and at the pool bar in Disneyland Hotel. And you remember, the only one of those that you can't go to as a hotel guest, the only ones you can't go to unless you're a hotel guest is the pool bar. So you can get it at Trader Sam's or at Tangaroa Terrace over there.
Very good, very good. So that is that, and then we just have one last kind of update for you. Not news, but updated. Last week, you remember on the show that we talked to you at length about the Main Street Cinema adding merchandise to it. Well, it didn't take long. I believe our show was out. Our show was released on Wednesdays, like it always is, and then on Thursday, they had removed the merchandise.
And I believe we started the fire.
You know, I want to say it was probably a lot of other people first, but we definitely helped fuel the fire. No. I mean, Billy Joel wouldn't say we started it, but we fueled it. Yeah. And it helped burn. I don't think we had any impact on it whatsoever. But regardless, Disneyland did make the right decision on that, and I applaud them for it. So I spoke very vocally about not wanting any merchandise in there, and I am happy that it is gone for now. And the last update that I think we can all get excited about is we also got word that poor Soarin' Over California, that attraction that no one ever liked. Everyone loves Soarin' Around the World. That's a great attraction, but Soarin' Over California, we hate it. Unfortunately, we now have to deal with it through the rest of summer, because instead of leaving at the end of June like it was supposed to, it's now going to stick around all the way, I believe, through August 31st.
Shucks.
Right, Tom?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. No, that's a bummer, because I miss Soarin' Around the World. It was a superior.
Well, you are the #1 fan of that attraction, I believe.
Yeah, I think
I'm team Soarin' Over California. I love that so much better. Oh, I feel like it's longer too.
I feel like if you say that you prefer Soarin' Around the World, that you should have to go in for like a state inspection on your brain. I don't know.
My only complaint about Soarin' Over California is the sped up part of the where they filmed the highway at the end. I'm like, why is it looking psychotic? Is it because they wanted them to be like, we don't want to show this highway not moving, so we have to double speed this? Like,
it's LA. Traffic's always moving. It's LA.
But I loved. We were fortunate enough to ride it when we were out there to cover Galaxy's Edge opening, and I hadn't. You know, it's been however long since we've seen it, and it was great. Yeah.
No, and now I will be back, obviously, for D23 in August.
Yeah, we get to do it again.
Expo. Yeah, no, I'm going into the park to do it again, specifically for that reason. I just want to keep seeing the feedback. Do you guys think it's out of the question that Disneyland continues listening to this good feedback about it and says, you know what, why don't we just keep it?
I mean, look what we did for the Main Street Cinema. Look what we could do for Soarin'.
What do you guys think? They're California people. Do you think it's ever possible that they could just keep it, not go back?
I think it's entirely possible if the wait times keep going the way they are. Yeah, it's very possible. Give California something different than Florida.
Well, it needs something different than Florida, in my opinion, and I will say the film definitely it didn't look bad, because it does have that filmic look. It does look very different than Soarin' Around the World.
Yeah, because a lot of it's actual real stuff and less computer generated things.
Well, that too. I know that has an impact on it, but it's kind of like the difference between going to the movies and if you still have a theater around that actually shows film, versus then seeing a brand new movie that comes out. There is something very appealing about digital, but that makes, in terms of wanting to feel the most realistic. Like, I'm sure if they put in Star Tours for a day or a week or a month, going back to the classic original Star Tours, you would say like, oh, well, there's
a lot more asteroids in this than I remember.
It does. I'm assuming, just because I haven't done it, that you would then have an appreciation for the adventure continues, saying, well, it does feel a little bit more realistic now because of the updates. But so that's my only thing about California. I feel like maybe if they completely restored the film, and they made it look better, then it could have staying and lasting power to it. But I would love to be able to come out to California every single trip and still be able to see it, because it is so superior in every way.
Yeah. I agree.
That's all I have to say about that. So does anyone else have anything to add on anything that I missed out on this episode?
Just
time to air your grievances.
Just still thinking about that milk
I didn't
jug.
realize this. I rode Soarin' Over California yesterday, and a friend pointed out that in the last Disneyland scene, that I didn't realize how old Soarin' Over California was, because there's the old Rocket Rod sign on the Disneyland scene.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that either. That's something to watch the next time I see it, too, you know?
Yeah.
We have two...
Wow, this is really old.
Two Easter eggs now to look for. We have to look for the Rocket Rod sign, and then contributor Sam Carter that you've seen on our show before.
He says he's pumping his fists. You got to look for the guy pumping his fists on Main Street when he does it. So
yeah. It's only flying by so fast, and it's dark, and you can't see. I trust him, though. We just need to ride it with him.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just be, hey, come ride it with us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if you are going over to that Soarin' area, real quick, and then we'll whatever. Okay. This is so not important for anybody unless you're an annual pass holder. We had a really good beer at Smoke Jumpers. It's it's a Bottle Logic s'mores beer. S'mores. That was the word. I couldn't think of the s'mores. And I don't normally like that type of thing, but I have not stopped thinking about that beer since we had it. So if you are in the park and looking for something good and different to try, Bottle Logic is one of those awesome breweries that we like to try and go to whenever humanly possible. But check it out. Yeah. I just think it's a nice little treat to try out.
I agree with you. So, excellent.
Morgan, have you been to the new AP corner yet? The Lion King corner?
Mm-hmm, the Lion King corner. They were giving out a Lion King button, AP magnet, and they had a photo scene set up for in honor of the Lion King, which was pretty cool.
Is it a Lion King themed AP magnet or just the regular AP magnet?
It's the normal AP magnet, and then they give you a Lion King button, so it's like two separate things.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And they also sell this cup. It's right now only for APs.
Oh, I saw.
But you play music on the side.
Yeah, it's an ocarina.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I tried doing it, but it was a cool idea.
Yeah, those debuted at Animal Kingdom a few years ago.
Oh, did the Ocarina Cup?
Yeah, and I'm assuming now they're just like, we have a bunch of blank ones.
What do we do?
But we just need to find molds to kind of like melt onto these, so that way we can keep getting rid of all of them.
I never trust any sort of collectible souvenir that plays any sort of musical instrument. I got that stupid flute mug from Pandora, and I am still like, why do I have this? No.
Yes, but my Casey Jr. train whistle works every time with no issues.
Oh.
So I take that whistle and I up you whistle.
Up you whistle.
Okay, that's probably the point where we should end this. So I hope this was helpful to you, and thank you for making this such a memorable first hosting episode for me. And if you decide to not stick with us, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And what does Edward R. Murrow always say? Thank you and good night.
No, I hope you continue with us. Like I said, it's gonna get more fun. We're gonna have way more Disneyland stuff happening all the time. We're gonna bring in old members, new members, fun members, happy stuff, good times, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you to my team out there that was here with me today. I really appreciate all your input. You did an awesome job, and thank you to everyone out there who listened and watched this. Of course, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to us, leaving comments down below, hitting that thumbs up button. And if you're listening to us on iTunes or any other place where you get your podcast, make sure you're subscribed to us if that's possible, and also that you're leaving feedback if you can. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Diz Unplugged Disneyland edition. We'll be back with you again next week, but until then, remember what Tom Bell always says: Disneyland is better when it's shared. I screwed that up.
And that's podcasting.